anybody out there?
Mark Radcliffe. Oh, yes. Great.
Cult Film Corner, this week, The Bad Lieutenant.
Bad Lieutenant, not The Bad Lieutenant. Very important. Bad Lieutenant, the driller killer, but Bad Lieutenant.
You fucking stand there and you want me to do every fucking thing? Where were you? Where the were you? Where were you? Where the I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did so many bad things. I'm sorry. Oh, I tried to do the right thing, but I'm weak. I'm too weak.
That's Songs of Praise from the Parish Church, Hebden Bridge, this Sunday, BBC. Bad Lieutenant, yes, a performance of subtle restraint. I wonder, I'll never know what those bleeps were, concealing.
Gosh. So anyway, so there we are. That's a little bit of Bad Lieutenant. The interesting stuff about it and why it kind of now has a cult following, when it was... when we first heard about it, it had been shown at, I think it was the Cannes Film Festival, and people came back saying, this movie is so grim, they're never going to allow it through the censors.
Right.
It came to the British censors. It was past NC-17 in America, which meant you had to be over 17 to see it. Remember, in America, they normally have the R rating, which means anyone can see a movie. It was past uncut over here. It was kind of provisionally okayed for video, and then the whole fuss about video censorship blew up, and the film was effectively banned on video for a year. It's now emerged with 1 minute and 40 seconds of cuts. And the cuts that they've made over here, which I think actually are rather useless. One of them is that they've very slightly cut down the rape sequence in which the nun is attacked, which is pretty unpleasant and pretty horrible as it is. And they've cut 2 very brief shots from that. They've attempted to remove the erotic element of the scene. I don't know whether they've done it. The other thing is they've removed scenes of Keitel and his girlfriend, who's played by Zoe Lund, who for Abel Ferrara fans is Ms. 45. She's Ferrara's longtime compadre. Taking drugs, in which you can actually see the mechanism of them taking drugs, and the BBFC have cut that out because they think that it's instructional, that it's fetishizing the process of drug taking. I have to say, I think with or without cuts, Bad Lieutenant is a pretty grimy ride.
We're sort of in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer territory
The
here,
comparison is that neither of the two films are fun, but both of them have a certain kind of validity. I don't think that Bad Lieutenant is as good by any means as Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, because I think Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer has, an aim, and it knows exactly what it's doing, and it's very precise, and it's a very clearly made film. I think the problem with Bad Lieutenant is that Ferrara is actually very attracted to the sort of the grime and the scrunge, and it's like putting your head down the toilet of life. Having said that, I think the film is completely redeemed by Harvey Keitel's extraordinary performance, who, he really does go the distance with this film, and also by the fact that there is something about whatever Ferrara does. His films are always kind of slipshod. They're kind of a bit messy. They're kind of a bit all over the place, but there is something very electrifying about them.
I mean, is all this talk of it being about Catholic redemption? I mean, is that kind of just seeking an artistic credibility which it doesn't really deserve? Is it really just about filth and degradation and violence and drugs and all this kind of redemption thing is just something that's put on there to make it seem more acceptable?
No, actually, funny enough, my problem with it is that I think that the inverted commas Catholic redemption thing is the core of the movie. And for me, for example, I think Driller Killer is a more interesting film because it's more anarchic, it's more nasty, it's more hopeless, it's more bleak and more grim. I think there's something quite pat about having, it's okay, we'll all be spiritually saved in the end. But I think actually that's a lot to do with where Ferrara's coming from. But I don't think the message is stuck on. The whole film is about that, but I don't actually find that particularly sort of rewarding. Lard watched it. What do you think?
Well, again, I mean, it was good.
Very good, lad. Right, yes. And sorry, I was just waiting for Holiday on the Buses.
No, I mean, I wouldn't stoop to that level. I didn't think of it.
Right, okay then, fine. So we've got copies of it to give away.
3 copies to give away, of course. Obviously, with this particular competition, you have to be over 18 to enter, and don't expect, upbeat, jolly, bouncy, lively fun. It's a movie to live through rather than to sit through.
This is the Light Programme in the north of England.
I wouldn't play that. I mean, I'd stick to my guns, and play nothing but punk and psychedelic, but if you're going to play that muck, there's nothing I can do.
You went all the way back to the office. It'd be nice to hear the new Go-Go single tonight. I'll go and fetch it.
All right.
You did. What, 3 floors to get it. Anyway, here's the new Go-Go single featuring Belinda Carlisle. And lest we forget, she did start off as drummer in the Germs. With
Yeah,
Pat
well, there
Smear,
you go. That's what I said.
who's in Nirvana, punk rock.
Yeah, Derby Crash,
So
no problem.
Your credentials are intact, boy lad. In
Nice
fact,
one.
a little enhanced.
I once shared a radio microphone with Belinda Carlisle.
Really?
Competition
We have Mark Kermode with us for Cult Film Competition Corner, and also we have the boy lad with us for, well, no reason I can make out. Conclusive proof.
I once shared a radio mic with Jason Zambano.
You didn't.
No, but I did share a radio mic with Belinda Carlisle.
Did you?
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Can I?
Good,
Can I?
right.
Can I?
You won't make it up, would you? It's not worth making up, is it? Let's be honest.
Can I do some of this fantastic mail?
Please do.
Mandy Veronica Taylor, or Mandy Ann Veronica, writes to say, I too have had a great time in the Isle of Man. The best bit was when I fell asleep in a greasy cafe at 6:30 the morning after being turfed out of a smelly brown B&B I came to on the floor, and my mum told me off. I also have happy memories of counting how many cars had man in their registration numbers.
There you are. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
That's a satisfied customer.
That's the best time you could have there.
Very sad.
A fantastically Anaraki inquiry from somebody who...
What? An anorak writing to us? I can scarcely believe it, Mark.
I know, it's terrible. It doesn't give their name, but wants to know whether the Dice Man, the novel of the Dice Man, the Luke Reinhardt novel, was ever turned into a film, because apparently on the original copy of the novel it said soon to be a John Schlesinger movie. Sometime I would love to do a feature on all the novels which have soon to be a major film, including The White Hotel, which has now been out for 12 years, with soon to be a major film written on the front of it. No, it was never filmed, which is what. But there's a brilliant thing here when he says, I have spoken to several learned movie historians. Well, some video shop owners, and none of them have heard of the film. And also, finally, from Alan Cowling, who says, have you done Driller Killer? Yes. Have you done Last House on the Left? Yes.
Good. Well,
Good.
That's him put in his place then.
Excellent. Last week's competition, which was... Should we do this now?
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Which was to win widescreen copies of Raging Bull, the Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese movie in which Robert De Niro gets his head kicked in a boxing ring. And the question was, and we had some good witty answers, we have to get 3 winners, was which is the film in which Robert De Niro plays the character of Louis Cypher?
Right.
And it's a pun name, okay? Louis Cypher. Lucifer, that's right. So he is the devil, and of course it's Angel Heart. Lard, out of that huge bulging sack there.
Well, there's Mr. J. Faulkner from Horsham.
Could you even pretend and just go like that?
Oh, let's just dip into this big bulging sack and see what comes out, hey, boys? Mr. J. Faulkner from Horsham, he's won a copy, and he says keep up the good work, so, bit of bribery there. But there's Mick Tate here, and he says that, this method acting that Robert De Niro gives him for, he says he gets the answer right, by the way. Good. But he also says that he orchestrated all the world's ills for a month in preparation for the part. So that's good. It's dead witty, that, isn't it?
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, and Philip Ray, he wants to know how you were on the telly last week while you were on the radio.
Oh, well, the telly was recorded.
See, technology. So they're the 3 winners, and Philip's from Andover, Trogs territory. And there's another, if you remember, it's called Thump Lard for some reason, this competition. And Simon Sykes...
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, well, I hadn't, because I've been receiving mail all week with Thump Lard written on it. But Simon Sykes, you were very, very close to winning from Malvern, but you had to address it to, and I mean really belt him, knock his bleeding block off, take him outside and make him beg for mercy, or at the very least, tickle him with malice. And you were very close to winning, but... not quite, Arkid.
Right, okay.
Bit of malice there.
This week's competition.
This week's competition to win Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant, a terrible story of Catholic redemption, police corruption, drugs, sex, and Harvey Keitel in the buffo. Very simple question. In the same year that Harvey made Bad Lieutenant, which, is the cinematic equivalent of putting your head down the toilet, Harvey made another movie, which was Harvey and Nuns. And I once suggested to the Scarlet they should do a double bill of Harvey and Nuns of Bad Lieutenant, and another film in which Harvey starred, which he co-starred with Whoopi Goldberg. In fact, one of the most horrible, reprehensible, nasty, unpleasant films ever made. What was the other half of the Harvey and Nuns double bill. What was it?
Right, okay.
Send in your entries to, you know this, don't you?
Yeah.
What was it? Nuns on the buses. What was that?
Good data.
Okay.
Hey,
then.
listen, I'm the funny one tonight.
Right. Oh, yes. How easy it is to forget.
Send in your entries to.
Send in your entries to
Nuns on the
do
buses.
permanent damage to lard. Nuns on the buses. BBC Radio 1FM, Oxford Road, Manchester M61SJ. Do permanent damage to lard. Nuns on the buses. BBC Radio 1FM, Oxford Road, Manchester M61SJ.
Oh, dear.
So last week's question, in order to win copies of Bad Lieutenant, and you had to be over 18 to enter this, and if you didn't write I am over 18 and stamp it in blood, then I'm sorry. No matter how witty your entry was, you ain't going to win.
Right. You don't have to be over 18. You just have to write I am over 18, which just absolves us of all responsibility.
Yeah, you just have to be able to lie with a pen.
Which, let's face it, is no more a bizarre rule than how you get into the pictures, is it? So I don't think we should start worrying.
No, hang on. We're not asking people to kind of wear platform heels and cravats and stand on tippy toes and say, 2.5, please.
We've got
or
enough
no,
of those at the
3.
engineering department who work on the programme, haven't we?
Brown sweaters galore.
Yes,
Terrible.
right. Anyway, go
And
on.
the question was, in the same year that Bad Lieutenant was made, Harvey starred in another movie, far more depraved, far more filthy, far more corrupting and foul, in which he starred with nuns. What was it?
Nuns on the buses.
No. Sister Act.
Oh,
Sister
dear.
Act, possibly the most horrendous, disgusting, disgraceful piece of filth ever made, ever in the history of anything.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
like
got
it
a
too.
Boom, boom.
And there was a massive.
Steady on, what's up with you? How many of those have you had?
I've had 2 lagers.
Ah, right, yeah.
But if the police are listening, I've only had 1.5.
Right, okay.
So 3 correct answers. Lard has 2. I have 1. Lard.
Ho-ho. Karen Gray wrote in and she gave the right answer, Sister Act, but she also puts in a request for a little green bag, so she just went for having good taste, really.
Bum, bum,
Bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum. Ka-dum, ka-dum. Carry on, Arkin.
Jenny Collier from Cheshire. She is well over 18. Nothing funny except that it was Sister Act.
Right.
Very good. And we've got Gerald Horton from Northants, and he actually says, odd then, I won't go through the whole letter, but he says, odd then that he makes such visceral, excited, in-your-face movies that on your TV report last week, he was somewhat less articulate than Lard on a bad night.
Well, I have to say that in that TV thing which we did for what you saw was the 40 seconds of the that were coherent out of the half an hour interview we did with Abel. He is not a man for whom words are the prime medium.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so there you are. You are the winners. Repeat the question for this week's...
Mark Radcliffe, missing you already.